Good morning and welcome to Masters of Digital 2021. Before we move to the formal introductions and the real substance of the day, and I hand over to Cecilia from Digital Europe, it's my pleasure to very briefly talk you through the virtual platform that we'll be using today and a few additional housekeeping points that should be helpful during this inaugural Masters of Digital Virtual Summit. So firstly, you're currently in the main stage area, and this is where much of the plenary content will be delivered across the next 2 days. Keep an eye out for the red live button as the indicator as to when content is running in the stage area. You will notice on the right-hand side of your screen, you have the chat area. It's here that you can pose questions and comments throughout the day whenever you're in a session. Alongside the chat, you should also notice the polls and the people tab. There will be numerous polls running across the day, and they will appear here for you to respond to, and your responses will be used as part of the live discussion, so do be as active as you can. The People tab is where you can see who else is attending Masters of Digital 2021, and you can interact one-to-one with your fellow participants through chat or by video. And there is also a meeting schedule option, which, time allowing, in between sessions you may wish to use. On the left of your screen, you have options to network. Give this a go if you have the time. It's a great way to network in these times of reduced contact. Visit the virtual booths of the event sponsors, and there's going to be some really great content in the expo, including live sessions and details of a variety of EU projects that Digital Europe is involved in. So check back there regularly. As I mentioned already, we want you to be as active as possible through the chat and the polling. We're really aiming for this to be as interactive as possible. And on that note, the hashtag for the event is MOD2021. The final item I wanted to mention is the reception area. You should have had the opportunity to explore that already, but if you haven't, do so during the next break, not just yet, if that's okay. It's the tab on the top left. And in the reception area, you will find your delegate bag, your agenda, and other information, such as details on who to contact if you have any questions about this year's event. We're going to be active and responsive in the chat, so if you have any questions at all, do let us know in there, anything practical or related to the next 2 days. We'll also be issuing feedback forms. These are in the reception area already, and for each completed form we receive, there'll be a donation made to UNICEF COVID-19 Solidarity Response Fund. So with that, let's get started, and I wish you a wonderful Masters of Digital 2021. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. I am really delighted that you would join us here today. I think we expect around 2,500 people to join this event, and we have a great agenda ahead of us. We have 2 EU presidents, we have 2 presidents from business, we have 2 commissioners, 2 ministers, 3 MEPs, and 1 EU ambassador. And not to mention a lot of specialists and business leaders who joined us to discuss how to create a stronger digital Europe. Not to forget that in the end of all this, we will actually also announce the winner of the Digital Europe Unicorn Award 2021, the most innovative and scalable tech unicorn in Europe. So let me get started. And I must say one thing. In spite of all this, I do miss the bus. I do miss the face-to-face. And I really hope to see you also live and face-to-face next year at the Masters of Digital. This is a picture from last year. And remember, behind any kind of great people or great events, there is also a team. And I would like to extend my thanks to my team for actually making this possible, and to Forum Europe, who is helping us today. Thank you so much. We must say that 2020 is a year that really made us look forward. Looking backwards, we faced a crisis, and just reminding us that in Chinese, the word crisis consists of two letters. The letters means opportunity, and the other one means danger. And boy, have we had a lot of both. It is really a year where we have had to take the bad with the good. If we look at the bad side, of course, the COVID has hit us all, and it has hit people, individuals, most importantly. It has also hit our economy. It is also a year where we have seen Brexit, UK leaving us in the European Union. And we shall miss you also here in our community of EU. We have also seen more on the agenda of digital. We have seen the Schrems 2 case and the fall of the privacy shields and transfer mechanism of data. So looking at the good side, we have seen a new leadership in the US, and we have seen great leadership actually coming from the European leaders. It has really forced us to look forward. We have seen Michel, Ursula von der Leyen looking ahead, knowing that digital is one of the main drivers of Europe's recovery, and that recovery will not only have to be digital, but actually also green. That we need to recreate, not recreate, but actually rethink and rebuild the society that was before the crisis. And that digital will be one of the absolute main drivers of that to a large extent. So if maybe we would look a little bit on the year ahead of us, it is a year where we will have a lot of policies files on the table. As you know, we are Digital Europe. We work with digital policy, with digital investment. We represent around 36,000 companies all over Europe. We have 40 organizations in the EU plus, so European countries, which means that we are very close to what is going on also in the member states. And I want to thank our network of organizations for really working very well together and taking this crisis and the recovery of Europe very seriously. We have launched our proposal for a recovery plan, which I will return to. It also means that a lot of companies have joined us. We are now representing not only digital companies, but manufacturing, health, financial sectors. And it really shows that digital and data is not only about the digital companies, it's about a fundamental transition of the European, and I would even say the global society. It forces us not only to look at how we work on this in Europe, but also look beyond Europe and how we actually get the rest of the world along on our journey. We have seen the two leaders of the European Commission and of the European Council really taking a great leadership in this. And as Ursula von der Leyen said, we must make this Europe's digital decade. And that actually cascaded not only into words, but also into actions, which is clear from the quote of Charles Michel. And we have seen now the dedication of 20% of the recovery package towards digital and more than 35% towards green. It really shows that we are not rebuilding, we are rethinking the future of Europe. So, I think I have been quoted quite a number of times since last year in saying we need to put the money where our mouth is. we need to walk the talk. We need to actually make actions, not only words. And this is what we have seen. We have seen all the ministers and the council and the commission dedicating 20% of this recovery fund to the broad transition of digital transformation of society. This would, whatever we do today, whatever we do in the next 3 months, where we put the money will determine how the digital recovery and the recovery of Europe will actually be seen in 5 years. Looking back 5 years from now, what we do today will matter. And it will matter to a much larger extent than we actually know. If we look at growth companies, we know for sure that digital companies grow 2.5 times faster than non-digital companies. We also know for a fact that before the crisis, 52% of the workforce would need to be reskilled due to digitalization. And I can't imagine what the number is right now. So where we put this 20% will matter for the future of Europe. So now, the next level of action, the member states will have to hand in their plans, their detailed plans, with very clear targets on what they will do for society and for competitiveness in spending these digital funds. Right now, we have seen around 12 plans public, still missing 15. We think more or less that they are all around 20% for digital, but they are still very different in quality. And there is still a lack of dialogue between private sector and public sector. We in private sector hold a large amount of knowledge on digital that, of course, we cannot ask our public leaders to actually have. And we take our responsibilities very serious. And I urge leaders in the member states to reach out to their organization and to take a thorough dialogue with private sector on how to spend this funding. I will tell you later, what the major priorities of SMEs have been and what the major priorities that we recommend on digital is. We have seen also very positive moves in the current plan. Spain has launched a great plan, putting more than 1/3 of the funding on digital. And we will later in the conference hear about this plan from Nadia Calvino, the minister from Spain. We see, for example, France having a huge focus at the SME and startup environment and their transformation into digital companies. We see Romania having a great focus on e-health, Germany being very focused at new technologies like quantum computing and AI, and we see the Central and Eastern European member states being very focused at connectivity. Italy on e-agriculture. This is all great. We also need to learn to work together across the member states. Scale matters when you invest in digital, and we are behind in the game of investment in digital in Europe. So once again, I urge you to, one, reach out to your organization and to private sector to tap into the great amount of knowledge that they have, but also to work together on connectivity, on skills, on education. Make sure that you have scalability in the investment and that we don't duplicate unnecessary efforts, but that we optimize the spending of the recovery fund. We put forward in autumn a 5-area plan for how, or I would say recommendations and advice on how to spend the recovery funds. Digital education, healthcare, scaling and boosting. 99% of our economy consists of SMEs. We need to leave no one behind and make sure that they enter as a strong financial backbone of Europe, the digital era. Also, we need to rethink how we do this. We know that the climate change is a huge challenge of the future to the nature, but also to the people. And it can potentially create great global instabilities. So let's walk the talk and look how we can spend also digitalization and green in a combination that will take us to the next level of sustainability. Of course, then, without connectivity and infrastructure, that is digital infrastructure, 5G for growth of companies, and also connectivity for the younger generation to study from home, or the companies and the employees to work from home. Nothing is possible without the people and their knowledge, the right education, and the connectivity giving access for the rest of the economy to flourish. So, how to do this? I mean, I hope that leaders in the member states, businesses, and of course, we know already that the EU leaders does. We put forward actually 2 years ago at this very conference something we call the Digital Manifesto with 21 KPIs on where would we like to be in 2025 on digital. You see very clear KPIs here. So 2 years ago, we said we need green growth. We need to use digital technologies to reduce CO2 emissions by 20%. We said we need to see actually at least 50% of the SMEs of Europe using big data to improve their services and competitiveness. Today, this is only 12. And one important thing that we will return to, we would like to see 30% of the SMEs actually selling online and across border. Today, only 8.5% of them actually use the great opportunities of the internal market and trade across one border. Returning to the last one, of course, the 25% of the world's unicorns. We really need to improve our focus on scalability in Europe. The twin strategy is becoming reality with the recovery fund, and we will return with a panel also on the green transition and how we can actually use digital in all these sectors to improve the situation and to reduce the CO2 emissions. So scaling in Europe. Well, we are not doing that great. We have, if we include actually United Kingdom, we have 12% of the world's unicorns in Europe. As we see, this is not enough. Why is that? And we have to ask ourselves, will we remain financial stability in Europe if we are unable to use the big opportunity of the internal market and actually have scalable companies also growing and coming from Europe? A fair share of unicorns, of big companies, should actually be in Europe. We have one of the largest economies. Let's also have that share mirrored in Europe. If we look at the unicorns, as you know, we will have the award at the end of this conference, and we actually spent some time going back to the 60 unicorns that was nominated from all the EU countries in the last 3 years. And we asked them, have you grown? We see that 80% of them have grown, which is very positive. The bad news is that not all of them actually grew in the EU. This is not bad news because this is a global market and we enjoy that and we will return to the need of that. But it is not good news that they say that the legal framework is unfit for new technologies and that EU markets are highly unfragmented, and this is the biggest barrier for growth in Europe. What we do see also, we ask them, how do you want to invest? If you could actually advise on investment, what are the most important areas? And 9 out of 10 answered digital education in schools and investment in data availability and data spaces. Very interesting. It seems that we have a lot of scalable companies ready to enter the data economy, and we really need to make the data available and the market available to them, not only globally, but also within Europe. So let's set a common target of actually having, by 2025, the data economy should represent 6% and not as now 3% of the economy. This is the big year of data. We will have big investments in data spaces, in data availability. we will have a proposal coming from the Commission on AI regulation. We are looking at the Data Governance Act, the Data Act, and the launch of Gaia X, which Digital Europe and many of our members have also joined. So this was most likely also be the year where digital goes global. Digital and digital technologies and the consequences of digitalization cannot be only seen from a country or from a European perspective. We need to take a leadership. We need to team up with the rest of the world to find out how to solve disinformation, to solve the lack of ability of data flows at the moment. There are great challenges. Our economy and supply chain are highly integrated, and no one can do without the others. I have just joined the task force of B20. I am working with NATO. The team is working towards WTO, OECD, and we will participate also in the COP26. There are great opportunities coming up, and we need to be quite clear on where we discuss what and have very tangible outputs. We, of course, congratulate the new administration in the US, and we will also have the ambassador of the EU to the US speaking about the great opportunities of this new leadership. Let's take together the global and European leadership very seriously and hope that this will really be the year where digital goes global. So this is all about finding a balanced way of creating value through digital, meaning money, but also preserving values, that balanced European way in the middle. But is this also about finding a global way? Finding a way where no one is left behind or no one has to face the consequences of disinformation in the world. Thank you so much for listening. So we will have, in a minute, a great speaker, Michel, joining us to speak about the recovery plan, a great leadership we have seen from the European Council and from the European Commission. Be with you right in a minute. Welcome back. I have the pleasure of introducing the next speaker, President of the European Council, Charles Michel. He is the former Prime Minister of Belgium, and he is also the man behind the October 2020, when the Council agreed to make the Green Recovery Plan of funding of 37% and digital on 20%. So I think I can say that it's an honor to have you here. We are most delighted to see the latest trends coming from the Council, a collaboration also on digital. And I will pass the word to you to discuss the Europe's digital leadership and how we actually also meet that target on recovery. Welcome, President Charles Michel. Honored to have you here.
Thank you, Cecilia, and good morning, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your invitation, and it's a real pleasure to speak about our digital agenda, a topic that's having a profound effect on our common future, and a topic during this pandemic that's having such an immediate impact on how we do business, how we govern, and how we go about our daily lives. Digital is one of the two pillars with climate change of our European transformation strategy, a strategy conceived and launched well before any of us had heard of COVID-19. And this pandemic is making our digital strategy more necessary than ever. Today, I want to focus on why our digital agenda is crucial to our European strategic autonomy. Then I would like to say a few words on how our digital strategy can help us get there. But first, what do we mean by strategic autonomy? It means, in my opinion, more resilience, more influence, and less dependence. The EU is the #1 trading powerhouse in the world, and we have negotiated significant trade agreements with other major economies and regional blocs. We are an open market economy, and we believe trade is beneficial to our economy and to our population. Strategic autonomy is about being able to make choices. We want greater autonomy and greater independence in an open and global environment. This means reducing our dependencies to better defend our interests and our values. We want a more level playing field and more fairness in today's globalized world. Interdependence is natural, even desirable. Overdependence, however, is not. So strategic autonomy has nothing to do with protectionism. On the contrary, COVID has shone a brutal spotlight into every corner of our societies. It has revealed our strengths, but also our weaknesses. And it's particularly true where our overdependence makes us vulnerable. In healthcare, for example, the supply of face masks or critical medical equipment, or in the digital sector, the supply of microprocessors and telecom infrastructure. Strategic autonomy does not mean producing everything ourselves. This is neither desirable nor realistic. We don't seek to be stronger, to be more self-centered. Quite the opposite. We want to be strong, independent, and confident, to look outward, beyond our borders, to contribute to a better, fairer, and of course, greener world. Ladies and gentlemen, you know better than most the pivotal role that digital sovereignty plays in our greater goal of strategic autonomy. And I won't lecture you on business or technical issues. You are the specialist. But it might be useful for you to hear how we, European leaders, frame our digital agenda in the global context. The world is on the brink of the next stage of the fourth industrial revolution. Europe has enormous potential in the fields of data, artificial intelligence, and the Internet of Things. Our industrial data, for instance, represents a massive resource. And the move towards edge computing will put Europe in a much more favorable position than in the previous stage, where non-European actors took the lead in personal data gathering and cloud computing. The potential of this new kind of resource seems infinite, but we must not repeat the errors of the past, the overexploitation of our natural resources. We have abused these resources and brought our planet and our biodiversity to the edge of disaster. So we must not abuse data, our new 21st century resource, in the same way. In recent years, however, we have seen the abuse of personal data, the overexploitation of data by companies in pursuit of profit, or by states, like in China, for the purpose of controlling citizens. We must use our new digital resources wisely to protect the environment of our fundamental values, democracy and individual freedoms. It's not only a political issue, it's also an economic one. We must ensure the sustainability of these resources, because citizens will not accept to be transformed into objects, to see their personal and consumption choices guided by secret algorithms. We have unique and undeniable strengths, our market of 450 million people, and with it comes our regulatory power, the famous Brussels effect that enables us to set the highest standards for our citizens while projecting these standards across the world. And this is especially true in the digital domain. Take our General Data Protection Regulation, the GDPR, in 2016, and today's Digital Services Act and Digital Markets Act proposed by the Commission. But we have another powerful tool, our competition policy. It has an effect beyond our borders. This ensures that consumers have more choice and fair prices in a fair market. But let's not be naive. Competition, one of the competencies of the European Union, can be used to elevate our standards and to develop our European interest. Finally, the same could be said about tax. In the European Union, this remains mainly a national competence. It's a sensitive topic. Many want to keep a healthy tax competition within our union. But attitudes are changing. This competition between member states is being exploited, and this can generate resentment and a feeling of unfairness among SMEs and citizens. This is particularly true in the digital world. It's no longer acceptable nor sustainable that companies make huge profits in a market without paying taxes where they operate. These are all issues that should be settled in the framework of international cooperation. And like I said earlier, there are currently several global models of digital development and governance. Between an unregulated model and a state-controlled model, we Europeans promote a human-centric, ethics-based approach that serves our citizens. Ladies and gentlemen, our ambition is to lead the way and work with partners to deliver a rule book for the digital economy. And now we have a fresh opportunity to forge a joint EU-United States tech agenda. A consensus is emerging on both sides of the Atlantic that online platforms and big tech have the potential to threaten our common democratic values. And we are currently reaching out to stakeholders, both in the EU and the United States, to explain our goals and to set fair rules and ensure online businesses respect EU fundamental rights and values when operating in our market. And also to tackle other pressing issues like cybersecurity. We are determined to take up these challenges with the United States and all willing partners. However, if necessary, we are ready to lead the way on our own. Ladies and gentlemen, in the European Union, we are good at regulating our playground and influencing other playgrounds. But that's not enough. We want to see our homegrown companies take root, grow, and prosper into global leaders right here in the European Union. And this is, of course, alongside non-European companies who will always be welcome in Europe. We want to boost the development of our European data industry, and to succeed, we must overcome some obstacles. First, we have to focus on developing secure and high-speed connectivity. This means significantly enhancing our broadband capacities, notably in 5G, and we have to look beyond 5G to 6G, and to my friend Thierry Breton's idea of a low Earth orbit satellite project. We also have to ramp up our plan for chips and microprocessors from design to advanced manufacturing that will equip the interconnected things in our daily lives. Today, Europe accounts for 10% of global production. We should double that figure to become less dependent. Ladies and gentlemen, our European digital future is limitless and exciting. Across our digital sector, our entrepreneurs, our researchers, our high-tech workers, we have the talent, energy, and ambition to be successful. At the European level, we have a clear view of where we are going and how to get there, our strengths, our challenges, and above all, the immense opportunities that lie ahead. We want to pioneer a digital strategy that combines our regulatory might with innovation and investment. We want to develop a human and values-based approach to our digital data and artificial intelligence industry. We have a strategy for the future. We are capable, we have the tools and the people to make it success. And means our historic 1.8 trillion euro agreement will provide the funds to drive forward our digital transformation. Let's make Europe the digital powerhouse. Thank you.
Thank you so much, President Michel. I'm most delighted to hear also you were speaking about the strategic autonomy, not as a protectionist project, but really as building a partnership with the rest of the world where EU is a strong partner and who act upon strength. So you could say strong and strong gives stronger, weak and strong will only weaken the partnership. You talked about the EU ambition for strategic autonomy, and you mentioned that there are actually some obstacles. I mean, what are the obstacles that we need to overcome, and how should we do that?
No, thank you for this question. But first of all, I think it is important for us as the European Union to be clear about what are our common goals. And I think we have three fundamental goals that we need to reach. The first of all, important not to forget, is the democratic values, our European values. It's a very important goal, and day after day, we need to work together in order to promote the governance, the rule of law, point one. Point two, we want more prosperity. And that's why we have built a two-pillar strategy with climate change and the digital agenda. And we have decided very clear orientations on climate change. Remember, 1 year ago, when we decided the climate neutrality by 2050, it's a very strong ambition. And we need to take also a very strong decision on the digital agenda. What do we want for the next decade in Europe? We are working with the Commission, and we will have the opportunity in the next weeks, in the next European Council, to give also very clear orientations. And the second topic is Europe as global leader in the world. And there's a paradox. We have strong values, we are strong democracies, we have a strong single market, but at the same time, we are too weak, in my opinion, at the external level. We should have more influence at the geopolitical level. And the strategic autonomy means, in my opinion, that we need to be more united. Not easy. It's a constant effort in order to make sure that we share the same goals and that we take the same measures and that we try to harmonize. I give one concrete example, which is related to the digital agenda. I think the next months it will be important to make progress in Europe when it comes to the question of data, this very important resource for the future, and to find the right balance in order to make sure that data will be a growth driver for Europe in the future, but at the same time that we guarantee the trust, the confidence of our citizens in the way the data will be used in the future. And this idea to create in Europe some data spaces in order to facilitate, in order to encourage the exchange of data is something which is very important. You know that the first sector important in our opinion would be the health sector, and we understand very well the reasons, of course, but it means in what word? We need more unity. It's a permanent political effort, more unity between the member states. We need to be coherent. We need to identify what are our priorities, and we want to be a reliable partner in the world. And that's why also maybe with the elections in the United States, especially for the digital topic, we have an interesting window of opportunity. And we will put an offer on the table to Joe Biden and his administration in order to have a strong dialogue, to cooperate with them, to try to develop a common approach. And it could be a very strong signal for the future.
We actually see quite a number of signs that Europe is more gathered. I mean, just the announcement of the budget and the two targets of green and digital as a strategy that has been launched before the crisis, but continuously been the guiding star towards also the recovery plan, and now cascading into real measures and real targets. Do you see also that the Council will work towards very concrete KPIs on the investment and what to achieve, and will the national leaders kind of tap into that? Do you think that it would be more like a united common goals on what to achieve in 2030? Will you launch some kind of tool or targets?
The good thing, in my opinion, is the fact that we were able, during this pandemic last year, to take a very strong decision. And this is, in my opinion, an irreversible decision for the future of the European Union, because the fact that we were able to decide to invest together and to reform together with the same goals, the digital goals, and at the same time the climate change, which is an important priority for us in Europe. This is very important. But it's not enough. Now we need to implement and to be more precise. And it's exactly what we are trying to do with the digital compass. And you know that we work in close cooperation with the Commission, with Margrethe Vestager, with Thierry Breton. The European Council in March will be very important, in my opinion, because we'll have the opportunity at the level of the 27 leaders to decide what are our common orientations at the digital level. And last year, of course, we focused a lot. It's normal on the pandemic, and we face a huge crisis, and we need to take difficult decisions. But we don't forget, at the level of the leaders, at the same time, that we need also to take strong decisions in order to invest in the digital agenda for the digital priorities. One concrete example: we have decided to use at least 20% of the RRF, the Facility and Recovery Fund, for the digital ambitions. This is totally new. It means more financial capacities. It means also that we ask to the member states, when they will propose to the European Commission and to the Council their national recovery plans, also to take into consideration this priority, not only climate change, but at the same time, the digital agenda. And another important point in my opinion. There is a clear link between climate change and the digital agenda. If we make progress at the level of the digital European ambition, it will help us to make progress and to be able to reach our ambitious climate goals.
Thank you so much. And as an industry, we have tapped into that work 2 years ago with our manifesto KPIs, but actually also with the relaunch on our website, on our KPIs, on how to build a stronger digital Europe just today. So maybe just one question more. You mentioned a few things. You mentioned infrastructure, 5G, chips, and now we also see the emergence of a European data health base, so we can do research on, of course, COVID, vaccines, cancer, on a totally different scale that we can actually do today. Are there any other areas that you think we should focus at in these digital investments? And when will be the next step? When will you discuss this in the council again? When will the leaders be discussing this?
I'm convinced that the digital agenda will influence all the fields of our societies, health sector, mobility, our industrial ambition, everything will be influenced by our common ability to make some progress in this domain. This is the first point. And the second point, what are the political moments the next months? We have in February, in 2 weeks, we have the next European Council, and on the agenda, I've put the security and the defense questions. And there's also a clear link, because you know that we face new threats. The cyber security is today a key topic, a key question. I give you one small example. When I became Prime Minister in Belgium, the cyber security only a few years ago, 6 years ago, it was a totally new topic for the public authorities. In Belgium, 6 years ago, we had nothing at the public level when it comes to the cybersecurity. We took the decision to launch a cybersecurity center in order to try to improve our ability to face this challenge. But we observe also at the European level, it is very important to try to cooperate, to coordinate, to develop the same approach. And that's why also at the security level, that the cooperation with NATO is so essential, in my opinion. We have a common approach with NATO in order to prevent the cyber threats, and we will continue to be more concrete in this field. February Council, we have security, we have defense, and the cooperation with NATO, and the cyber security will be an important topic. Then in March, again, we have a debate on the single market, our industrial strategy, and especially our digital goals and the digital compass. And we are working very hard with the different teams in the Commission. We want also to cooperate with the private sector in order to listen actively to the expectations of the private sector, in order to be certain that what we would decide, what would be the next orientations, will be in line with what's necessary for the future. And it's an important point is the question of training, the question of skills. We have the question of the infrastructures, of course, but it's not enough. We need also to have a common approach, a common ambition, and the cooperation with the private sector is so important in this field in order to see how we can collectively improve our skills, capacities in Europe in the next months, because it's excellent if we made huge progress when it comes to the infrastructure, but we all know that it's not enough.
So it already sounds like at least we have some common ground. As you also mentioned, infrastructure and others. We launched shortly ago advice on 10 pan-European projects on how to spend the investment and where to focus on digital investment. And I can also tell you that we just have a research on SMEs showing that data spaces, infrastructure, and skills are the main priority on public spending and investment for making a stronger digital Europe. One of the things that they mention is the immense fragmentation of the internal market, and that it's still too difficult for them to grow in the internal market. How will this be addressed in the future?
Yeah, you are totally right. I think that this is a weak point in Europe, and we need more cooperation, more coordination. And that's why I have the impression, based on my very modest experience the last months, that the European Council could play a very important role if, at the highest political level, in the 27 member states, we would understand how it's important to make collective progress. It could help us to give more space for a European political harmonization in order to limit the fragmentation. Because I understand very well, for the European companies, it's very difficult to grow if we are in a global market, 450 million consumers, but with 27 different legislations, which make everything more difficult and more complex when it comes to the investment, to the question of the innovation. And I really think that because we decided last year to identify climate change and the digital ambition as the two pillars, the two strong pillars for the prosperity in Europe in the future, I think that it's helpful in order to have a more common European approach in the future. This is one thing. We have another problem in Europe, in my opinion, and this is a sensitive topic, I know, but it's not because it's difficult that we should avoid discussing this topic. The question of the taxation and the digital taxation. And probably you know that when we decided to launch this exceptional and unprecedented recovery fund, we decided to finance together because we invest together. And it means that we will have a democratic debate. It will be a difficult debate, a sensitive debate on the taxation and especially the digital taxation. Is also, in my opinion, an interesting debate that we will have with the United States, because you know that the last years we have started this political debate in Europe, but at the same time we have tried to have this debate in the framework of the OECD in order to have a more global perspective, and the international cooperation is key. We will see if it's possible with the new Biden administration to have some common ground on those difficult topics.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us today. I must say that we really see results with the new EU leadership. We see that there is more unity. There is a strong, both political, but also a strong strategy in place. We look very much forward to contributing to this work. And we're delighted to tap into also, of course, the KPIs work, but also the dialogue on cybersecurity and other sensitive topics with the Council. Thank you so much for your leadership. Thank you so much for participating here today at the Masters of Digital, and we hope to see you again next year. Thank you so much, Mr. President.
Thank you. All the best. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye. So with this, I think, refreshing strategic vision of the Council President, we are now turning to the recovery again. And the next panel will be on the Recovery Fund and the recovery of Europe and how digital play a major role on that. I will hand over the word to Sam Fleming, Brussels Bureau Chief from Financial Times, to introduce the next panel. And I urge you to listen in, because what we do today on investment will matter for the tomorrow and for the future generations to come. Thank you.